Again to the authority of love on this another Family Foundation Friday. Remember, Love and Lordship's vision is every life and relationship built on the love and lordship of Jesus Christ. I'm your host, Greg Williams, joined by our co-host, David Walls. David, thanks for joining us, and thanks to listeners and viewers as well.
Yeah, always glad to be with you, Greg, and I am thankful for everyone that tunes in.
Yeah. And it seemed to be gaining a little momentum.
Yeah.
I hope that you're hearing what you know you need to hear, and more importantly, that it's in line with God's Word. That's always our prayer.
And look, we want to provide, information and insight that you're just not going to hear from other media sources.
Most of the media. Yeah. Speaking of which, what did you were telling me just recently? What the Herald Leader report on Ryan Dotson's thing?
They misreported on an event that our friend Ryan Dotson was hosting. It shocked me though, Greg. I've never experienced any.
Never saw that coming, did you?
Never experienced any misreporting from the Herald
Here's the
Leader.
interesting thing, though. All the cameras and everything there, you know there's going to be plenty of evidence to say there's 330 or 40 people there. You can count them, and they report that there was a low turnout of 70.
Yeah.
But all the evidence is right there.
Yeah, and this is, again, not to go down too far on this.
Rabbit trail.
There's, as we've talked about, some important seats that are going to be contested now that we've got, Senator Mitch McConnell not running for re-election. So you've got Andy Barr, Daniel Cameron, who have announced there may be more running for the Senate seat in Kentucky. And then here we've got now Congressional District 6, where Andy Barr is currently serving. That seat is going to be open.
Right.
And so one of the prominent conservative voices that have already, conservative legislators that has jumped into that race is Ryan Dotson,
What we were just talking
who's
about.
in the state house right now.
Right.
So just to provide a little context on that, but not surprised to see that they would
underreported
and try to frame things not so friendly against conservative Republican like Ryan Dotson.
Yeah, and you would think, I guess they figure, well, the people we're catering to, they want to hear that this didn't turn out well, so we're going to give them what they want instead of actually report facts. No credibility at all, but they go, well, they're probably not going to listen to conservative media or social media, so they'll never know the difference.
Yeah.
That's sad, though.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's a sad statement not only on their reporting, but on the people they're reporting to. So, once again, we're not live. It's pre-recorded, as I am right now in the Eastern Caribbean and having a great time. I'm not sure where David is, but I think he's got family in town, right?
I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I am in the Eastern Caribbean as well,
Good
Greg.
for you, David. Join us, man. Join us. Love it. You'll be there in spirit, I'm sure. Okay, so let's jump in. We talked about this the last couple of weeks, but there's been a little bit of a new development that we just touched on last week, and that is Fayette County raising taxes. And you said a couple weeks ago, maybe it's to pay for all transitioning the bathrooms back to what they ought to be. Yeah. And now the Attorney General has come in.
Yeah, so the Attorney General put out an opinion, a very definitive opinion, at the request of Senator Amanda Mays Bledsoe, so we're thankful for her engagement on this issue.
Yes.
But simply pointing out that Fayette County Public Schools, the school board, did not follow the law with this ill-advised, I would say.
And executed, it sounds like, right?
Tax increase on citizens here in Fayette County. And so he essentially has said that his statement was, tax and spend government is a danger to Kentucky's future, especially when officials who should be accountable to Fayette County tax voters try to ignore the law in raising taxes. And so essentially what happened, Greg, was they didn't give the proper notice for citizens to be able to know what was going on and be able to speak out. And there's continued to be voices that are being raised. I know there's been some other discussion about some open records requests, a series of them now that it's just showing an incredible pattern of wasteful spending going on at the school district. You and I have talked about how, that the ideology, the crazy, radical, woke gender ideology that has run so rampant through Fayette County schools, culminating in a school being under construction that was at first trying to do away with boys and girls bathrooms, then backtracking
and middle school
on that.
On top of that.
Yeah, in middle school.
12, 13, 14-year-old boys and girls.
Just, utter insanity. Yeah. But now, thankfully, apparently backtracking on that, but now taxpayers are on the hook to reconfigure bathrooms, and from what I've been told, literally having to remove urinals from what are now girls' bathrooms. Yeah. Look, here's the reality. when you ignore
Be
the
careful.
most basic truth, biological reality about mankind, it has implications. It has implications
Absolutely.
on how our kids are taught. It has implications on construction and how buildings are built.
Wow.
And there's a reason why, for just about all of human history, we've said it's a pretty good idea to say men use one restroom, women use another.
Yeah,
And,
especially boys and girls becoming young men and
right.
women.
And so, as you and I talked about a couple weeks ago, the fact that you've had an entire school district that has been, at least the leadership, at the highest levels, Superintendent Liggins, the school board, or at least some of the school board, a majority of the school board, when they become captive to this kind of radical ideology, you better believe it's impacting every part of the school district and the system.
And the citizens.
Absolutely.
The taxes, right?
Right.
Which you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, there could have been some developments, as you said. We're pre-recording this, but we're thankful that the Attorney General has come forward and said what they've done should not stand, and ultimately they should just not. They should accept that, and they should not be raising taxes.
Exactly.
For a variety of reasons.
Right. And transitioning, David, but staying along those lines. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, right in line with what you said. You can't be fiscally conservative and socially liberal,
Right.
because there is a cost not only to individuals and citizens, but to the public health and variety of other impact and ramifications from that. So here's the other thing about that. We've got this big, beautiful bill that we've talked about. I, for one, am glad that Elon Musk came out and said, wait a minute, folks. Our job in Doge was to cut spending, and now you put this bill out. And he said those who are voting for this know that they're doing wrong. And yet there's a flip side to that, and I know you're going to talk about this. I would love to see this happen. Let's be fiscally conservative and socially conservative. Let's remember that in there is cutting down the monies to big abortion, Planned Parenthood and others, and gender mutilation. We can put that in there as well. But there's also a lot of pork spending and other things that are in there that could be cut. So that's what we need to talk to people about.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a couple times, Greg. Thankful that really for the first time, historic, this budget that passed the House included a defunding of Planned Parenthood. It included protection of our tax dollars from paying for gender transitions, and it included a number of other good things. But the reality is that let's just get back to common sense. In our own homes, in our families, we have to balance our budget. If you spend
in this
more
business, in this ministry,
in
whatever
our
it is,
ministry,
right?
And we're incredibly thankful. We're our ministry is dependent on the faithful support of folks across Kentucky supporting us, as I know you are. And you can't go too long spending more than you earn or folks donate to.
That's right.
At the state government level, many states, Kentucky,
local, we just talked about
Texas,
locally, right?
They're required by the state constitution to have a balanced budget. Unfortunately, that's not the case at the federal government.
Hasn't been for a long time.
It hasn't been.
No.
I've always been a strong proponent of that should be something that we add to the U.S. Constitution. But the reality is, as this bill, as folks have had more time to look at this bill, and as it's moved over to the Senate, there's a lot of concerns about how it might actually add to the deficit. And I think the numbers are, $37 trillion in debt. So there's continues to be ongoing debate and conversation about this. Look, we want to see ultimately a fiscally responsible bill passed. We do want to see some of the pro-family tax cuts extended. The child tax credit. I mean, there's some good things in this bill, but it needs to be done in a fiscal manner. We're not here to break it all down, but I will tell you, we need to continue to make our voice heard as it relates to when these bills hopefully get across the finish line and a good bill gets to President Trump's desk, that it includes a defunding of Planned Parenthood, it includes a defunding of gender transitions. And so folks can encourage Senator McConnell and Senator Paul to ensure that those important protections stay in the bill if they go to our website and take action.
And ask them, continue to put the pressure on them to say, and by the way, if you're cutting there, cut in some other areas too.
Yeah.
A whole lot of this is what ends up coming back to them. And there's to be public servants.
Right.
They're raking it in while it's costing us as a government and a nation more.
Yeah.
And so we want to be fiscally responsible. And by the way, David, we're in the middle of June.
We are.
Which we now know as Fidelity Month.
Yes.
Right?
Look, Greg.
That's awesome.
I continue to be thankful that it at least seems that the momentum and the retailers and corporations are not pushing as much some of the Pride Month stuff.
It's still out there.
It's certainly still out
right.
there. But I think we're kind of, Lord willing, maybe at a little bit of a tipping point where enough folks have said, look, we don't want this stuff pushed down our throats wherever we go. Whether it's
there's
on
court
a
cases
streaming,
about
a
it, all
streaming
this stuff,
service,
right.
going into a retailer. So we're seeing some good things happen, pushing back on this. But no, you mentioned Fidelity Month, and this is, I believe this was brought forth by Robert P. George, Princeton law professor, great, conservative, pro-family voice in the culture.
Excellent.
And he's coined this thing, Fidelity Month, and say, how about we celebrate God and the family and a church and community, things that are
integrity,
actually
fidelity, all those things that are that actually make a nation strong.
Right.
Yeah. Community and
how
nation.
about we not celebrate sin for a month?
That's right.
And celebrate God honoring things.
Right.
And so we want to join in that, encourage folks to celebrate Fidelity Month, but do it all 12 months of the year.
Well, and David, to your point, we are celebrating sin. We're not. We're just celebrating the people that celebrate sin. We're celebrating the sin, and we want. And I know I've worked with several, and I've got several on my prayer list that I know are living and deceived by this. And the loving thing is to continue to speak the truth into their lives and pray for them. And if we get the opportunity to share with them, and I've got a couple of people that I do that with, and they're open to listening to that. So hopefully, if we shift this to fidelity instead of sin, there's going to be more people that are willing to hear and listen to it instead of promoting and glorifying that.
Right.
And so that's what he's all about. Another thing that you got to participate in here just a few weeks ago, the Colson Center annual conference, right, was here in the state.
Yeah, it was. It was in Louisville, and I was blessed to be able to go and love the Colson Center, love John Stone Street, their president, and heard him speak many times. Big fan of his podcast, Breakpoint.
Breakpoint.
But they launched. I got to attend a press conference. They launched along with our friends at Alliance Defending Freedom and some others, or announced at a press conference that they have a new video platform called the Identity Project, where they've got over 200 videos, and it's going to grow with Christian faith leaders, pastors, those in the scientific community, those in the legal side, policy side, all centered around speaking truth into identity. Because really so much of the cultural battle that we're in, particularly for young people, is a battle over identity. We know as believers that our first identity is in Christ, and that there are biological truths about who we were created to be that come from that. And so I commend this resource to folks, and you can go to Identity Project, I believe it is, .tv, and sign up for a free account and view these
200
resources.
and counting on the things available. And by the way, I'm excited that I got accepted to do a Colson Fellow this next year to
I'm
work through that
for
study.
You, Greg.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's on my bucket list someday to
you need
go
to do
through
it.
it.
You need to do it. I've heard so many great things. I'm excited. Also, Family Forum, September 27th. Dr. Josephson's coming as well, right?
We've got some exciting speakers to announce. Stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. I'm Greg Williams with David Walls. You're listening to Family Foundation Friday on the Authority of Love.